Days after work begin at the new Amazon distribution center in West Duluth. We're learning more about who their new neighbor will be. True North Goodwill plans to build a 61,000 square foot, $23 million facility in the Atlas Industrial Park, expanding the company's services. As Northern News Now's Ryan Hayes reports, the project is poised to provide an economic boost to that part of town in more ways than one.
It's eliminating barriers that people have to training and employment.
True North Goodwill CEO Dodie Brown says their new facility will help them expand their employment training services and will serve as a career navigation hub.
So our mission is to inspire personal transformation through the power of learning and career development.
In addition to training, the new facility will be Goodwill's regional headquarters with an outlet store, a warehouse, childcare, and more. Brown expects this to account for 75 new jobs.
We are all about employment and work and what's meaningful for different individuals.
Mayor Reinert says moving this site from here on Garfield Avenue to an expansion here at Atlas Industrial Park can help the city achieve its goal of expanding the commercial tax base.
Commercial pays roughly 2/3 of the property tax bill. So the challenge that we have is if we're not growing the commercial, we're looking to residential to pay those same expenses.
Reinert believes residents in the far west corridor of the city are excited about the many new developments coming to Atlas Industrial Park.
It has land that's available for development, and it also has neighborhoods that want to grow. They want to see the jobs.
Brown hopes the new facility can be a vital piece in helping people manage their busy days.
I can imagine a person coming to training class, being able to drop off their child, and then being able to pick up their child, go pick up their groceries. If they needed to ride the bus, we can have a bus stop right in the corner.
In Duluth, Ryan Hayes, Northern News Now.
The state announced today it was providing a $250,000 grant to help fund the project. Goodwill hopes to break ground in August and open by November of 2026.